Hello! After his mother's death, high school student Tommy moves to a violent city to live with his father, who in addition owes gambling money to gangsters. To help him, Tommy must work and study at the same time, but this is not enough. So then fate makes him encounter a man who offers to make a quick buck in an underground ring. The guy's already complicated life becomes even more complicated and dangerous. But the boy is smart beyond his years and ready to surprise those who are trying to fill their pockets at his expense. Tommy Riley leaves his house and heads to school. He passes homeless people trying to keep warm by the fire and guys playing basketball. The ball bounces back to him, and he skillfully throws it right into the basket.
Yo! Who said you could shoot? It's a black game, home. Y'all don't want your whiteness shoving through my hoops.
The local gang leader, Leroy, is angry, but Tommy doesn't push his luck and goes his own way. The scene is watched by another black guy, Lincoln, whom Leroy also tells him to go screw himself. Tommy arrives at school and enters the classroom and realizes the 3 members of the gang he met on the street are not happy to see him at all. They claim that the boy has taken their place, and after his 3rd attempt to change seats, Tommy no longer caves in.
No, you see, I've grown real attached to this seat. In fact, I think we're gonna be going steady.
The confrontation is prevented by the appearance of the teacher. Leroy reluctantly obeys her and threatens reprisals after class. But the teacher knows how to foster an interest in reading in disadvantaged neighborhoods.
This way you have something to do in your 9th month or in your jail cell.
With his knowledge, Tommy manages to impress the class and particularly the girl Dawn who sits next to him. During recess, he is sharing a cigarette with a friendly classmate when he gets surrounded by Leroy and his gang. However, they leave Tommy alone as another gang, led by Lincoln, shows up nearby. The shaved head wants to get back at him for his friend Jerome and pulls out a knife. A carnage ensues, but the guards run out of the school and stop the knife fight, carrying the expelled guy out of the school grounds. On his way home, Tommy is met by 2 men who introduce themselves as his father's bowling buddies. He lets the strangers inside, who turn out to be debt collectors. They write the amount of John Riley's debt of several $1,000s on the TV screen and leave, threatening him with guns. Tommy goes to the local cafe where he meets Dawn, who works at the cash register. She offers the boy a job as a dishwasher, and he accepts. The work is hard, and the money is deducted from his already small salary for each broken plate. When he goes out to take out the garbage, he is ambushed by Shortcut and Leroy with their friend. They attack Tommy, but he knocks the 2 out with powerful punches and is left one-on-one with Shortcut. Their fight is interrupted by a man who turns out to be the organizer of the boxing fights. He demands that Shortcut protect himself before tomorrow's fight, because powerful people are betting on his victory. The bullies leave, and Tommy gets approached in the cafe by the same fight organizer, Pappy Jack, telling him that he put up a great fight. It turns out that Tommy has already won a tournament in his hometown. The kid doesn't want to fight for money and tries to walk away. But when Jack agrees to pay the amount the gangsters demanded from his father, they shake hands and make a contract for tomorrow's fight. Dawn tries to interrupt their conversation and is sad to see that Tommy has agreed to fight. At night, his father comes home when Tommy is already asleep. He says he has found a job and will be traveling around the country selling medical equipment. The man has tried to make money gambling, but only got into debt. At which point, his son shows him the message from the debt collectors. The father is furious and calls the bandits and threatens to deal with them if they bother his son again, promising to give the money back soon. He says goodbye to Tommy and departs, leaving his son to live alone. The next day, Tommy goes to the underground arena. There, he meets Coach Noah, who immediately gives him weighted gloves, which are illegal in official matches. Papa Jack only laughs in response to Tommy's indignation. No one here cares about fairness or rules. In the locker room, Tommy is approached by the guy who was asking for a smoke at school. Cuban Romano Asadro is surprised to learn that Tommy has agreed to fight a rival nicknamed Black Death and gives the guy some advice. When the boxers enter the ring, the odds are written on the betting table. 1-15 not in Tommy's favor. The fight begins. His opponent swoops down on the guy, staggering him with a series of punches, and ends the combination with a treacherous elbow strike. Tommy's eyebrow begins to bleed profusely, but he comes to his senses and launches a counterattack, driving Black Death back into the corner.
Don't you get tired, punk? Can't you hit me one? Kid, come on.
The precise hit does not go unpunished, and Tommy first gets punched in the groin, and then as he tries to get up, takes another straight shot to the head. The referee turns a blind eye to the fact that this is the 3rd time the boxer has used an illegal move, but Tommy nonetheless finds the strength to get up and pounces with renewed vigor. The crowd applauds, and Jack's boss, Mr. Horn, a rich man who came to the fight with his wife, prepares to say goodbye to the money he bet on the favorite. During the break, the coach advises Tommy on when he should strike. His opponent is vulnerable when he lowers one hand before attacking. The guy follows the advice and knocks out Black Death. And then, the corrupt referee, Jack, runs into the ring to the applause of the audience and raises his fighter's hand. Later, he explains that his earnings will be handed to him the next day by Mr. Horn personally, thanks to whom the ring exists. Tommy's fame travels ahead of him, and at school he is congratulated on his victory by Lincoln. After school, the kid comes to the gym to get his payment, where Jack bribes the cops and Shortcut pulls weights. Mr. Horn is here too. He's training a heavyweight boxer, explaining to him that strength and speed won't get him anywhere if he doesn't learn strategy and look for his opponent's vulnerabilities. The fighter is impatient and challenges the trainer to a duel. During the sparring, Horn keeps taking punches and then uses a dirty trick, pulling a combination and knocking out the upstart. After that, he approaches Tommy. The man is impressed and offers to continue performing in the ring for a good compensation. But Tommy stands his ground. He only needs to pay off his debts, and he is not planning to lose his health in the ring. Pappy Jack is obviously not too happy to hear this.
I respect your decision. Been a real pleasure meeting you.
Likewise.
Horn, on the other hand, calmly says goodbye to the guy, but as soon as the boxer leaves, demands that Jack make him fight at all costs. On his way out, the guy bumps into Romano, who is happy to make money in the ring. He wants to save up money to go to his homeland and scatter his father's ashes there. Tommy is walking down the street and meets Dawn. She is upset that her classmate got involved with gangsters, but the boy says that it was just a one-time thing, and he is ready to go back to the cafe to wash dishes. Their dialogue is interrupted by Jack, who has found out about his father's debts, and unequivocally hints that the lad should not waste their time and he'd better get in the car on his own. They arrive at Horn's, who tells the lad that he bought off his father's debts from the bandits, which turned out to be much more than $15,000. So now Tommy has no right to refuse him. The guy accepts his fate and leaves, and on the way sees Shortcut's fighters surrounding Lincoln, threatening to slash him with knives. Tommy steps in for the guy, and together they hide from their pursuers. Lincoln is grateful, and they have a conversation about their futures. Both are poor, but Tommy wants to go to university.
I got one chance. One chance for my baby, and that's this right here.
Turns out that the guy already has a young daughter and a wife, and he can't afford to study. In his next fight, Lincoln goes up against a heavyweight. He definitely dodges his attacks, but once one of them hits him, the boy gets knocked down as though he's been struck with a sledgehammer. Lincoln tries to get up from the knockdown, but his opponent rushes at him and kicks him in the face. Only Tommy is outraged by this, while Lincoln gathers his strength and continues the fight, winning it eventually. Tommy then finds out from Noah that Horn is a former boxer who had claimed the world heavyweight title, but was injured and lost the fight. After surgery on his leg, he could no longer fight like he used to, but returned for a match nonetheless. After it, his opponent could no longer enter the ring. One day, Tommy is training at home and is visited by Dawn, who is worried that the guy is not attending school. He explains why he had to go back to fighting, and they develop a relationship. The next few days go well. Tommy walks with Dawn, trains with Romano and Lincoln, and successfully fights in the ring. After another win for Tommy, it's Romano's turn to bring the heat.
I'm gonna dance until he's dizzy.
He goes up against Shortcut, who is clearly outclassed in both speed and tactics. But before the 5th round, the African-American's trainer drips an unknown liquid on his gloves, which the guy rubs into Romano's eyes during clinch. The guy loses his vision, which leads to a gruesome beating that is interrupted by Tommy, who makes his way to the referee's table and the gong. The guy is ready to choke Shortcut, but is dragged away. Romano falls into a coma. His father calls and tells him that he will have to be gone for a couple more weeks. Tommy hides his problems from him, but a teacher at school notices his absences and tries to talk sense into him.
You have a gift for language, Mr. Riley, but talent is a common thing.
However, Tommy is more worried about his friend, who is being transferred to a hospital for the poor. He is brain damaged and unlikely to recover. Tommy realizes that Horn and Pappy Jack are the ones who pitted the boys against each other. But first, he has to get revenge on Shortcut. He is the one Tommy faces in his next fight. The scoundrel tries to use the old glove trick again, but Tommy resists and topples him over with a toss. He starts fighting off the rules himself and strikes his foe in the groin and then clinches him in the corner, keeping him down with a barrage of punches. He continues to beat up his opponent, but holds back his rage and decides not to inflict irreparable damage on him. Outside, Lincoln and his family congratulate the winner. Tommy picks up his friend's daughter and immediately finds himself wet.
Oh my God, I'm sorry. Sorry.
Hey, don't worry about it. See, that's holy water. You baptized now.
The next day, Lincoln feels sick at practice. He is injured after being hit in the head by the heavyweight. He is not allowed to fight for 2 months because of the serious risk of a stroke. Many boxers are left disabled after such an injury. In the evening, Tommy is outraged that the opponent he was supposed to fight is already fighting someone in the ring. Instead, he is put up against Lincoln. The guy is risking his health and his relationship with his friend because Horn had promised him a career in professional boxing and as much as $20,000 on top of it. Furious, Tommy bursts into Horn's office.
If it was up to the medical profession, there wouldn't even be any boxing.
I'm not fighting Lincoln.
Horn wants crowd favorite Lincoln to lose to Tommy, on whom he intends to wager an impressive sum. He has deceived the young father with empty promises. Tommy can't stand this filth and sends Horn to hell, but the bodyguards don't let the guy get away and force him into the ring. Before the fight, Pappy Jack finds Dawn among the audience and sits her down next to himself and Horn. The fight begins, and Lincoln rushes in to attack, but Tommy only defends himself and quickly goes down for a knockdown. This angers his friend, who won't get paid if this continues. Horn motivates Tommy too, by sending up a man who asks him to look closely to see who the girl next to the boss is. The guy takes the hint and starts throwing punches, but only to the body so as not to take his friend's life.
Horn wants us to kill each other. For what? So he can get rich?
Lincoln hesitates for a second, and trash flies into the arena from displeased spectators, but still sends his friend into another knockdown. Tommy stands up and drops his hands, telling his opponent to knock him down and take his money. Horn demands the same, but Lincoln can't raise his hand against his defenseless friend and walks off to his corner in frustration. To the boos of the crowd, Horn bursts into the ring and demands the fight go on, but Lincoln says he doesn't work for him anymore. The angry man responds by throwing the guy out of the ring with a powerful kick to the head, and he is carried away on a stretcher. Tommy wants to take revenge on Horn for all the suffering he has caused his friends, so he challenges him to a fight. If the guy wins, he will be free, but if he loses, he will fight in the ring for his boss for life. Horn enters the ring without gloves and demands the same from Tommy. The experienced boxer knows all the dirty tricks and simply taunts his young opponent, letting him punch himself in the head in such a way that Tommy only breaks his fingers on his forehead. Then he delivers a kick to the kidneys and continues the humiliation by stripping Tommy of his shorts and throwing him out of the ring. Covered in blood and with an injured hand, Tommy finds the strength to taunt Horn, who goes on the attack and similarly breaks his finger on the guy's forehead. Tommy realizes that the man's weak spot is his anger and again provokes his opponent to catch him off guard with a powerful uppercut with his broken hand. Horn loses his balance and misses a series of punches. The referee begins the count, and the man finds no strength to recover from such an attack. The hall explodes with applause.
And you didn't break your hand.
Make him think you're weak where you're strong.
Bam!
The guy has learned a lot from his coach and rushes out of the hated ring to take Dawn with him. Fortunately, Lincoln is also in good health and congratulates his friend on a well-deserved victory. As always, look for the name of the movie in the description of the video. In the meantime, let us know in the comments, what decision do you think you would have made if you were Lincoln? And don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like the video so that more awesome stories come out as often as possible. Watch an interesting movie in a few minutes without rewind? Easy!
We got a great looking audience tonight.
The Sweet Popcorn channel has a mega convenient format waiting just for you. Short retellings of movies, from auteur films to Hollywood blockbusters. Pick up your unlimited ticket by clicking the subscribe button.